Okay, good morning everybody. My name's Mark, I'm from Nottinghamshire. Nice to see you all in this nice venue. I should let you know that this session's being videoed so that they can put out a statement about it afterwards. If anybody objects, please stick your hand up. Somebody's running away already. So, there you go. I'm from Nottinghamshire County Council, and we run quite a large integrated transport unit. But I'm going to talk to you today about the Total Transport Fund, what we're doing with that, and I've entitled this little talk Altogether Better, which hopefully you can see why I've done that when we get to the end. Happy to take any questions as we go along or at the end. I've proposed to talk for maybe 15-20 minutes at the most, and then I thought we could have a little breakout session for 15 minutes. I've got a question for us to consider, and then come back together and see what we've come up with, because that will help me in Nottinghamshire with the project we've got, and hopefully help you as well if you are moving along the same lines. So our aims are today is to improve the understanding of total transport and the Total Transport Pilot in Nottinghamshire, and to raise awareness of the challenges we're facing as we go through the project with our partners and with other pilots that are working on this project. So Total Transport, how many people are involved in Total Transport Pilot? Anybody in here? 1, 2. Okay, so the authorities, yeah. So some people will know about Total Transport. I apologise, but you're going to probably hear some stuff that you've heard before, but some other people might be keen to understand what it's about. Total Transport was a joint initiative actually promoted by the Cabinet Office initially with DFT and the Department of Health, following on from some work from PTEG, and that's a hyperlink there, so you'll be able to get the PTEG report and have a look at it, which makes the case that then, and this went to the House of Commons Transport Subcommittee, that local authorities, NHS, colleges, academies, anybody involved in the provision of passenger transport should work together in the future, looking at all their resources, what they do, how they procure services, how they design services, how they deliver services, to achieve two things. One, to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the transport services provided, to remove duplication, but also to improve the offer to the users of those transport services. So in our area, you know, that's National Health Service through the clinical commissioning groups, it's our adult social care people, it's special education needs and significant college transport that's funded by the major colleges in our county. I have to put these on now. I'm straining to do that. There was also another report which we'll send the link out, and it was the Institute of Policy and Public Research that came out in August this year, and it's similar to the PTEG report, but of course they have sway with government, and it's talking about integration of transport and how we move forward. I think in Nottinghamshire, just to give an example, we spend £35 million a year, including 10 million on concessionary travel on integrated passenger transport. That's about 5 million on adult social care, about 10 million on schools and SEND, and a couple of million on ad hoc taxis, who nobody knows who's using them, who's arranging it, and what the spend's for. It's just £2 million that appears, so we're digging into that. We're doing a lot of work into who's buying that, who's organising it. And we also have a fleet of vehicles. We've got 60 passenger carrying vehicles. But over the last 2 years, we're switching our fleet from the old adult social care SEN rear loading vehicles into dual purpose vehicles, the Bluebirds, side loading, and we're running 13 or 14 of those now, both on local bus and adult social care, which saved the County Council about £350,000 in costs by joint operation. And I'm happy to talk afterwards or later about how we've achieved that. So, getting back to the DFT sponsored pilot fund, it was launched by the DFT in January this year. We had a very short time period, about a month, to put bids in, so it was sort of blue sky thinking a bit and stick some figures in and fingers crossed we get the money. Because there was such a large uptake or bids, that pot went from 4 million to 7.6 million because of the demand, and 36 local authorities were successful out of I think 40 bids, so that was really good. And the bids and the awards range from £18,000 a year, which is a small scheme, up to 750,000. In Nottinghamshire we got 300,000. 700 would have been nice, but we got 300, and the funds are targeted at rural and semi-rural areas. So if you're purely a big city or a little city like Milton Keynes, or you weren't eligible to bid for that funding. In Nottinghamshire, we're part of the Total Transport Executive, which brings the major groups together to discuss how the projects are progressing, and the themes arising from the pilots are mainly around integration and how are things organised and procured locally. It's about integration or better use of community transport, and a key one here for this conference is how can we use technology or new technology to enhance future delivery models. And I think one of the key ones at the end is around partnerships, especially partnerships with the health service. Most people involved in local government here today, I found it terrible getting inside or working with the NHS. There's that many, the organisation's that big and that complicated. Actually getting the champion who can move things forward is unbelievable. But we're quite lucky in Nottinghamshire. We found the person that deals with the non-emergency patient transport £25 million contract, which is up for renewal, and he's on our group. So we're looking at joint procurement in 2017 with the NHS. So that was really good getting them on board. And we also got the 7 clinical commissioning groups on board, which is helpful because they're the funders. They've got funding difficulties, the same as we all have in local government at the moment. Therefore, they need to reduce costs. We need to reduce costs. We need to do more with what we've got. So that was really, really useful getting those partnerships in place. So the Nottinghamshire project is based on the rural areas of Rushcliffe. I don't know if you can see that, mate. It's the green. It's the majority of the authority in land terms, but that is predominantly rural. It's a rural area. City of Nottingham, which is a unitary, is there. So this area, although Nottinghamshire has 750,000 people, which goes to 1.1 million with the city, this area is roughly about 400,000. There's some old coal mining areas in Worksop and in this area here, Bilsthorpe, but big swathe of rural area around this eastern side, and that is where the majority of our local bus service support goes, because in the conurbations of Nottingham, Mansfield and Newark, to some extent Worksop and Retford, that's all commercial, but there's massive gaps elsewhere. And over the last 10 years, our local bus supported budget has gone from 10.3 million to 4.1 million today. So there's lots of things we need to do to try and fill those gaps now. So we're targeting in our project improving access to health, education, employment and rural isolation. And I'm going to show you a diagram towards the end of the talk on how we're doing this, because we actually started some work on the total transport theme prior to DFT giving some money out, so we thought, oh, that's good, they can help us on our way. Okay, so we're looking at feasibility studies in those areas on integrating with health, so attempting to get their data, our data, using the software we've got, doing some optimisation on what if scenarios, what if health and our services, colleges, SEND, adult care were all provided together, what would we have needed to have provided to deliver that, what would the efficiency savings be, and where would the duplication be removed. We are establishing a cross-organisational transport solutions service, which I'll go to in a minute, to use as a hub for the commissioning of all transport across the council. And we feel that hub could be extended to include health in the future under some governance arrangements that could be a company limited by revenue guarantee or a social enterprise or one of the new models of delivery, so that we've got neutrality in the governance of that new organisation. We're reviewing the use of technologies, both in the health sector who use Cleric, and in our sector we currently use Trapeze, to see is there synergy between those, you know, do health still want to use Cleric, do we still want to use Trapeze, or are we going to do a joint contract together in the future, or what is missing in technology that could help us. One thing I've missed off here, which I'm sorry about, part of our bid also included some additional funding for independent travel training. We started independent travel training in Nottinghamshire for young people in special schools, especially young people with learning disabilities, and we use the Norfolk model of towards integrated travel, and we've had great success with that, especially with young people moving into post-16. And this year, I can say we've moved 40 young people who would have normally go to college using taxis or minibuses. We've trained them with buddies over the summer, and they're using public transport. Now that is a real big success for us, because they're not using taxis, they're travelling independently, they're living independently, and that's what our members want for young people. And what we're going to try and do is roll that out into the adult social care arena. And in fact, my ITT officer is in London at another conference today talking about ITT, but I would really promote that as a solution for transport in the future. It's not a quick win, but when you see young people that have always travelled in a minibus or a taxi, and they've suddenly got that bus pass in their hand, and they're so excited that they're using the bus or the tram or the train to get to and from their destination, it's a really good win. On the expected outcomes we're thinking of, or as I've said this before, is improved efficiencies through the sharing of transport resources, both in drivers, vehicles and contracting. A single point of contact, which is easier for users to request transport and deliver transport. Improved offer to people in areas where there's little or no transport. Where we've used our fleet that would normally only do adult social care or special needs transport is mainly in rural areas at off-peak times, so providing people with travel opportunities during the day. And it is said, and we do know, that if we can get these people into the areas of economic activities such as shopping and shopping, leisure, and etc., or health, that they actually generate £3 spend for every pound that's spent on transport. So there is an economic case for delivering that, and reduced isolation for vulnerable people or individuals in rural communities who don't have a private vehicle. You know, we do know that 20% of people in rural areas don't have a car, so they need to get to places. If they haven't got a post office, they haven't got a doctor's locally, if there are no jobs locally, they need to get to their destinations. Okay, I don't know if people can see this, but this is a prize snap for you, because this goes to our Transport and Highways Committee on the 10th of December, but I'm quite happy because I know the members like this, and this is our sort of virtual solution. Please use this when you're talking to your members in the future. What we have identified is that there seems to be quite a significant gap between people, whether they're in health or in local authority, the commissioners of places, and what we provide in transport. And the conversation of how that transport is provided in the end comes a long way down the chain of making the decisions on placements. So we're trying to move that forward, we're trying to flip the coin. And what we're going to say to parents and carers in the future, how are you going to get your child or the person you're responsible to and from school or the care centre? We're not going to offer transport. I know we've got a legal duty, but the first thing we're going to say to people is, how are you going to get there? Okay. And in some instances, we've had some wins. We had a parent who we said, you know, you've got a car there, and we're spending £20,000 a year on specialist transport. I said, oh yeah, but my other daughter, Millie, has got to go to the primary school. We provide a carer to take the child to primary school. Mum takes the child to special needs school, which costs us £5,000. We save £15,000 a year as a local authority. It's those sort of discussions we're not having with parents and carers at the outset, which might provide a different solution to you know, expensive transport in the future. So we're doing that, which we need to now move forward and make it formal. So what we've got here, can everybody see this okay? Yeah. Okay, so here's all the clients we've got. We've got the policies in place, because we have to have policies in place as local authorities. So we've got health here. This is our children's and social care. This is the schools and colleges. And what we want to do is find out what is the most effective way of providing that transport, which meets value for money. And before we offer anything to anybody, we're going to look at, you know, is external public transport a solution, or our internal transport? A parent's having a direct payment, is that the best way for it? Do we do it through a service provider, i.e. the school or the day centre? Have they got facilities to do it? Or is independent travel solution the way forward? It's only then that we get towards the planners saying, you know, so the planners then in transport will do this bit of work, which is about, they're challenging back on the solution. They undertake risk assessments, especially for people with severe disabilities or needs that need specialist transport. Safeguarding, big area of work. They will do the procurement, the compliance, the planning and the performance. And the key in here is, forget how, as I'm talking about, all the spend in that area is moving to this team. It's not going to be held in the user department. It's going to be held by the travel solutions team, okay, who will set the budget, will identify growth, will identify future needs and feed back to user departments on that. Then we'll deliver the transport, and then it comes back round again for an annual review. And what we're doing is, any staff that are involved in transport in children's or adult social care are moving to the Travel Solutions Hub. So that will we're creating a new post of Travel Solutions Manager, and that person will be the link between the commissioners and the user department. If we're going to achieve anything in total transport, that link between the commissioning of places and the provision of transport has got to be greater and more rigid and more outcome focused for the client, because that's what our members want. they want better outcomes for the client. So that's the conclusion we've come to. I'd say hopefully, well, not hopefully, it will be in place for the beginning of April next year, and technology will play a big part in how we deliver that moving forward. Okay. Our pilot finishes in March 2017. That's when the DFT want everybody to report back on the outcomes. So if you see from that previous sheet, we were already thinking about this earlier this year. What we've said is now, how can we actually get health into this as well? And you've got the total solution across the county. So that is the way forward for us.